It is such a pleasure for me to be able to read the words of such great people, because bringing the text of the Ari to someone on my level so that I could work with it and try to get better at it, it's just a tremendous accomplishment. I'm very, very, very much attached to the books, the Sforim of this Rabbi Gamliel HaKohen Rabinowitz. He says his last name is Rappaport, which means he probably came from Tsarist Russia originally, where people have multiple last names. But at any rate, this person has prepared an absolutely tremendous text in so many different areas. So the last time we learned about Tisha B'Av and how it is that there's a nechama that came as a result of the focusing of Hashem's anger to the building instead of the Jewish people who were being massacred at that time. So now this is another question. It's a tshuva be'inyan ha'chiyuv, an answer in regards to the obligation of the Talmud Chacham lomar Tikun Chatzot, to say Tikun Chatzot. Now let's see what we have to say, and I'm just going to go down here. So we're going to skip a little bit. Be'inyan ha'chiyuv the Talmud Chacham lomar Tikun Chatzot metoch sefer tiva halacha. So this is from the tiva halacha, which is from this Rabbi Rabinowitz Rappaport. So he says, Makor Hadin Mechagamora V'Shulchan Aruch. Let's go to the root of what we're really talking about. Naskil Mimikorim Shal Devarim Da'ayin B'Gemora. So you should go look over the Gemara and Brachos, he says. Of Rosh over there, the Zel Shono, Tanya. This is Gemara. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Shlosha Mishmaros Havi B'Layla. There were 3 different watches during the nighttime. V'kol Mishbar Yoshev V'Kodesh Baruch Hu V'Shoeg Ka'ari. And at each one of these, I don't know if he means the beginning of them or throughout them. Let's just say that at the beginning of them, on each Mishmar, at each one of these watches, Mishmar, Yoshev HaKodesh Baruch Hu V'Shoeg L'Arma, and he roars like a lion. Shenemach Hashem Mimaram Yishag, from the high place Hashem will roar. Umama'on Kodshe and Kodsho, and from the house or the palace of his Kedusha. Shoeg al Nevechu, so he roars out of his holy place. Vidvaname Amar Rav Shmuel B'Chamarta. Mishmei the Rav, in the name of Rav. So Rav Shmuel Bar Marta said in the name of Rav. Shlosha Mishmaros Chav V'Layla. So there are 3 watches during the night. I'll call Mishma Kodesh Baruch Hu Omer O Oi. I think it's an Oi. Whoa. Levonai, to my children. She'avano say him because of their sins. Hachrabti as basi, I had to destroy my house. V'sarafti as heicholi, and I burnt my palace. V'higlesi debein umas olam, and I have been, I guess I was, exiled to be amongst the nations. When Messiah of the Rosh concludes over here, V'roy l'kol yarish hamayim, so it's fit for anyone who fears heaven. Shehei meitzav v'doag ba'os l'shah, that the person should be in pain and in fear at that time. V'lishpoch tachtunim, and to pour out supplications, beggings al churban beis hamikdash, in regards to what has happened to us and that we lost the beis hamikdash. Gamoshen emakumi roni b'layla. So it says like this. This is the tzavor, the hiyuv. It says, get up, roni, and sing b'layla, and sing out at nighttime the rosh hamishmaros, at the beginning of the watches. Zechu hamakor the devar b'Shulchan Aruch, the Aleph Sif Beis, so etc. The Mesif Beis Kasav Zel Shona. So we say this is what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. Hamashkim the hischanein lifnei boro, a person who gets himself up to seek grace in the presence of his Creator. Yekaven l'shaos shemishtanos hamishmaros. You should have the idea at that time that what time do you want to be doing this, at the time of the switches or the changes of the watches. Shehem b'shlisha laila, which is in 1/3 of the night. V'lesov shnei shlishi, and at the end of the second third of the night, a laila. V'lesov a laila, and the very end of the night as it's starting to go to morning. He said, "V'lesov shnei shlisha alayla v'sov alayla." He said, "Shachat tefila she'is pala ba'osa shalos." That if you can pray at those 3 times, al churban v'alagalos ritzuya akol, that everything will be accepted. If you can do that now, there's a tremendous, tremendous closeness to Hashem. The makar devara, because the root of these words, who megemora didon, is come from our Talmud. The Mavur, the Ba'osem Shalos, that explains of it that in those hours, those times, Shamishmaris Meschalfos, at the switch of the watches, who Eis Ratzon the Hispala of the Churban, that is the time of acceptance, to pray for the destruction, Ba'al Hagalos, and the fact that we find ourselves under the thumbs of the Gentiles. V'sif Gimel, Ha'atik Divir Harash. So in the I don't know what he meant by that, but in the I guess we're talking about the Shulchan Aruch. In the next sif, he copies the words of the Rosh Hashanah Sharoi L'Kol Yarish Shamayim, that is fit for all those who fear heaven. That he has Meitzav V'Doeg, to be in pain and trepidation. Al Churban Beis HaMikdash, on the destruction of her holy temple. Of Lashon Shulchan Aruch, now you take that language, Yesh Ta'ayin Lama Hashamet Masha Kasav Rosh. Why did they push aside, I guess, Shamit, the language of the Rosh, Sharoi L'Kol Yari Shemaim L'Chiyos Meitzav V'Dog Ba'osa Shah? Why didn't it say that? The Mavur Sheyesh Inyan L'Yari, because explaining here, I think he says a Shamit. So Shamit means when to separate out. I'm not sure if it means in a good way or bad. I'm just not sure exactly if it's excluding it or if it's separating to point it out. Let's see. He said the Mavur Sheyesh Inyan L'Yari Shemayim L'His Avel Al Churban Beis HaMikdash, that there is an Inyan for a person who fears heaven to mourn Al Churban Beis HaMikdash, to mourn on the destruction of the holy temple, B'layla, at nighttime. B'ika ba'osa shah shall his chalfos hamishmaros. And he says, really, it's very interesting here, that the main time that you have to do this, because we constantly, I'll explain. So he says, they're constantly saying that the time to do this is at midnight, after midnight, or midnight after midnight. So he says, now though, he says the night is divided into 3 parts. So at the beginning of any of the 3 parts, that's the time to do this. So look over there. This is by the Chabad link. Sha'atek kamo shakasav a rush, that where they copied over there, just like the Rush said. Sh'roy liyarish shamayim, that it's fit for a person who fears heaven. Like he goes meitzav v'doeg, the person should be in pain and trepidation. Ba'osa shah, at that time. But tzarach iyun, so you have to look into the lama b'shulchan aruch lo ha'atek prat zeh. So why was it that this doesn't appear in the Shulchan Aruch? Ba'ayin ba'aruch ha'shulchan, then there's Aruch ha'shulchan, which is another halacha sefer, litvish halacha sefer, shenivayir the al karchach, and this explains like this: it is necessary. Zehu gam came kavanas Shulchan Aruch, and so the al karchach, I don't know, shemavur, I think the al karchach maybe means that it should be included. And he says the gam came kavanas Shulchan Aruch, so this is also the kavanas Shulchan Aruch. I know the sif zeh, that is this halacha. Kai al sif hakodem, it really refers to the halacha that came before it. The mavur sham the b'shalos shemeschalfos and mishparos, because there it's saying that the times that the watches switch in the Beis HaMikdash at the nighttime, husaman eis ratzon, that is always, that time is a time of acceptance. These are times when your prayers will get through. And that's the reason why they say that in this halacha, they say that a person who is a Yarish Shamayim should be in pain. He should feel the loss, but doeg, and also be afraid of Churban Beis HaMikdash, about what happened and what our lives are like now. Find a bisman, and now that is in that time. Hamavur B'Sif Kodim, which explained that is at the beginning of the 3 watches, Shu Eis Ratzon, which is that time of acceptability. Tachanda B'Shalosh Hashmoros, that is the time that the Hashmoros, Mischalfos, that's the time that the Mishoros switch. Now let me see, I'm making this so you can't read it, I'm sorry. Let's see, the Efshar Lomer de Hashulchan Aruch Bebar L'Oreinu, the Yarishamayim Tzarech Lizkor V'Liz Aval Al Churban Beis Hamikdashenu. So let me see. V'yayin Sham O the Efshar Lomer, you cannot say that the Shulchan Aruch Bar L'Oreinu is coming to arouse us. The Yarishamayim Tzarech Lizkor V'Liz Aval, they're the ones that have to remember and have to mourn Al Churban Beis Hamikdash. The Milsa de B'Shitahi. You don't really need to say that. It's a very simple thing. That when you're saying the Shemona Esrei, Yesh Gimel Barachos Kafuos Lazeh, there are 3 special barachos that are fixed for this morning. Also in the Mirchos of Azim, Yesh Bracho Kavuah Lazeh, there's also bracha in there about mourning the Beis HaMikdash. V'kam Zechronos Ana Oisim the Churban Beis HaMikdash. We have all different kinds of remembrances that we should remember the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. The Beprat B'Mecha Metzarim, and specifically this time. He said during the 3 weeks, and who find me a Jew who is going to forget what he needs to do during these 3 weeks. Ella al Kain, the Gavanas of Shulchan Aruch, the Yarish Shemayim Yisavel al Churban Beis HaMikdash. We're saying like this, that a person is a Talmud Chacham, person is Yarish Shemayim, that person needs to mourn. B'layla b'shalosh mischalfos hashmoros specifically at those times in the nighttime when there was a switch of the watches. The Gamosha Vivano, like we brought before, the Chain Ku b'makor hadin, that this is the root of the din b'rosh, and the Rosh himself was really precedes the Shulchan Aruch. Kosov came, he wrote like this: V'al kol panim kan. So therefore, in any case here, who makor hadin sheyarish shemayim, this is the root of the din we have to understand. That a person who fears heaven, certainly his avel, that person has to mourn, b'layla, on that night, al Churban Beis HaMikdash. This is Baruch Fleischman, and we've been listening to the Tiva Gavanos actually explain the mashmuros of the time, the watches of the night, and the time to say Tikun Chatzot.